All right, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining today for the July All Hands on Deck call. We're glad to have you all with us. We are very excited today to have our presenter here with us. We have Superintendent Dave Tuttle from the Worcester County Department of Corrections in Massachusetts. So we're excited to hear about their programs and all the great things that they're doing. So I'm just going to turn it right over to you, Dave, and let you take it.
Awesome. Great. Thank you very much, Carrie. So I'm Dave Tuttle. I'm the superintendent. So just one point of clarification. So I'm with the Worcester County Sheriff's Department. It's okay. We get every state set up so differently. We do have a Mass Department of Corrections. They oversee the state facilities. So I'm one of 14 sheriff's departments here, the way we're structured. And I do want to thank you all for having me here today. When Ellen and I started working together through her boss on this program, we were kind of wondering, like, well, what roles do corrections play in all of this? And as we started talking about it, we realized really what a big role we do play in the lives of children here in Worcester County. And, you know, one of the things I was hoping to do and show you is kind of what the changes we've made here in Worcester County over the years. I've been with this sheriff 13 years. He first got elected in 2010 and took office in 2011. I've been with him 13 years and 10 years as superintendent. And one of the reasons I joined him, I did not have a corrections background. I worked for the U.S. Department of Agriculture. I was appointed by President Bush back in, it was a long time ago, 2001. I did that for 8 years. I was a state rep here. I kind of did a whole bunch of different things. And when Sheriff Evangelitis got elected to office, we were kind of concerned here in Worcester County. We had a bad reputation. We weren't very innovative. We weren't doing a lot of things to help the men that were in our custody. So I joined him, and when he asked me to come work for him, I said, yo, Sheriff, I don't have a corrections background. He goes, no, but you're a manager. He goes, I need people to come in and really help me put my vision to work. So, you know, managing's managing, a budget's a budget, HR is HR. I'm like, okay, I just got to learn about the clientele and the programs you want to start and kind of go from there. And I do want to say, you know, I reluctant sometimes to talk about what we do, because I attend so many meetings where people get up and go, oh, look at us, we do such a great job, you know, but I do think it's important to kind of talk about what we went through and the path we went through, because everything I'm going to talk about today took us years to do. You know, corrections, particularly in government in general, doesn't turn on a dime. This is a big boat that really took us a long time to kind of turn. And the biggest changes and struggles we had here was the philosophical changes. You know, this county was not known as I said, for their programming. We were kind of lock them up and throw away the key was the mentality of a lot of the staff here. And it did take us 3 to 4 years to kind of show people that we were serious about this, that this could work. And the things I'm going to go through today really have had a big effect on us. It's made the facility safer for our staff, and it's made it better for the men that are in our custody. And as I go forward to explain, we are all men here in Worcester County. If a female is sent to us for the county, we actually send them out to Hamden County, which is a neighboring county. They built a nice facility about 9 years ago for it that's dedicated to women. So they have a lot more programming, and it's a better facility for them. So I'm going to share my screen here. If I can do this well. Can you see my screen already?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. This is when being the 56-year-old guy becomes the fumbler on. All right. How's that?
There it is. We're good.
All right. Perfect. So this is the Worcester County Jail and House of Corrections. The jail, this main part of it that I'm circling here, was built in 1973. It was conceived in 1967. When the year I was born, they started talking about building a new facility here in Worcester County. And then this section over here to your left, the square buildings, we call that our modular compound. That was added in 1990 to compensate for overcrowding at the jail. And it was all modular construction, and it had a 20-year lifespan. So if you do the math, it opened in 1990. It should have closed down in 2010, and we're still using most of the facility down there. And the reason I bring up the date of our facility is it's kind of important to remember the 70s and 80s and 90s. What was the mentality of corrections back then? It was basically lock them up and throw away the key. There wasn't a real thought into rehabilitation or programming, those type of things. So one of the issues we have here, in addition to not being able to change the screen, oh, there it goes. So the reason I bring up the data of the facility is it really wasn't designed for construction, for corrections in 2023 and all the things that we tried to do. So we're all men. We have a cap of 1,252 is the maximum that we can hold here. We currently have 700 folks incarcerated. We are both a house of correction and jail. For those of you who don't know what the difference is, the House of Corrections these are lower level offenders who are sentenced to 2.5 years or less. And then the jail side of what we do, we have a pretrial population. So these are men that are awaiting trial for more serious crimes of rape, murder, those type of things. If they're sentenced, they usually leave us and head up to the state DOC facilities for their longer sentences. As again, most of the men that are here are 2.5 years or less. Currently, we're seeing them for about 120 days, 140 days is about our average sentence to us. And the interesting part of it, the high number of these folks are coming in with some sort of drug or substance abuse or mental health issues. Over 90% of them have drug issues or alcohol issues coming through our doors. So we have that to deal with in addition to everything else going on in their lives. We provide a whole host of services here. When I started here 13 years ago, we had 5 mental health clinicians, 5 FTEs on our mental health staff to service 1,200 men. We now have 20 FTEs in that department, and we have created our own in-house residential housing program also that mirrors a residential setting. So what we've been able to do in the past, we were always very good of guys coming in off the streets and stabilizing them and getting them on their prescriptions and maybe seeing the doctor. But that's where we kind of ended, was stabilization. With our new housing unit that we opened, and there's a picture of it here, we now have hired 4 more clinicians and support staff, and their offices are right in the housing unit with the inmates, and they're with them 5 days a week. And then on weekends, we have other programming for them to do, like we do prison yoga. We have a therapy dog come in. When this unit opened up, so what we did was we moved them from one part of the jail into this housing unit where they have a day room. They have their own yard. They're separated from the rest of the population. A lot of these guys had never been in a housing unit where they could actually walk out of their cells and into the day room. Now they're getting group sessions, one-on-one sessions. And crisis intervention, our education department goes down there and meets with them. It kind of took me back. This opened up October of 2020. I was shocked when I walked in, and to see how these guys had how they had transitioned from being housed in a cell for probably 18 hours, 19 hours a day, to then have the freedom to move around, to see the changes in them. Like, they became more personable. They started interacting with each other. Now I go down there on Fridays, and if they're good during the week and they have a chore list and they have a movie afternoon, they have music classes. Some of these guys have never had this opportunity in their lives. And the investment that the sheriff has made and allowed me to make, and you can see on the stats there, we've doubled our mental health staff in 6 years, and we've almost tripled in the 13 I've been here. It is such a need in our community, and we're so proud that we've been able to make that investment. And at any point in this, Carrie, if someone has a question, can you let me know? It's probably easier to address them as we go than at the end, if that's okay. So there's 2 things we do here. We subcontract out our mental health services to, I should have said that before, to a local Massachusetts company called Advocates. Advocates is a community-based mental health provider. We are the only correctional facility that they actually work in. And one of the things we really like about it has been, sometimes we have a unique situation where a person will come in here and we don't know what to do. And we turn to advocates and they're like, oh, we have that resource available to us. So by having them as a subcontractor, we've been able to bring in additional resources to help out the men that are here. One of the instances happened, we had a gentleman come in who was deaf and mute, but he had a unique sign language. You had to have two people interpret him. So we were like, we had never heard of this before. And advocates is like, oh, we have somebody on staff. So we were able to bring in folks. They made him flashcards, and it was to help him communicate with us. It worked out really nice. Our medical department that we have here, we subcontract with WellPath, which is again a nationwide healthcare provider, and they provide our medical services right on site. 2 years ago, we opened up a brand new medical facility here. I'll kind of show you the picture of it. And we added a better dentist office in it, eye doctor. And our medical staff is able to provide a lot of services there. A lot of things we've never been able to do in the past. We just had our first, it's kind of sad, but it kind of worked out for the better. We had an inmate here who was elderly, who had dementia and cancer and nowhere to go. And our staff provided end-of-life services for him and his family. We were able to have family members come in. The nurses worked on him, and fortunately, he passed away yesterday. But we were able to handle that all in-house here and give him the respect he deserved. I mean, he had an incident that was kind of sad, and the nurses did a great job. The family was appreciative, but we've been able to provide those services right here in-house now in our new medical facility. So some of the biggest changes we've made here in the department was, and this is where it gets hard, and people need to kind of, as you're thinking of implementing new programs, it was resource allocation, I guess is the big way to do this. So sheriffs in Massachusetts, we have a lot of autonomy. I work for an elected official. He has a lot to say when he walks in the door and says, I want to do this, I want to do that. The one thing we don't have a say over is our budget. So our budget is given to us by the Massachusetts legislature. That being said, too, there is no funding formula for sheriff's department. So there's no formula where they sit down and say, all right, Dave, you have 700 inmates, you have this much staff, here's your budget based on like a formula. It's all very political in Massachusetts. So, we asked for $62 million. That's what it takes to run the place. They give us 59. There are other sheriff's departments in Massachusetts with the same exact, inmates and staff as us. They get $20 million more a year. It's just, there's no rhyme or reason for it. It's just has all been political over the years. But also too, is we were behind the curve. A lot of the sheriff's departments who received additional funding than us over the years, they were already doing a lot of this programming and we didn't. So I think we're playing catch up in a lot of different ways here. So like I said, one of the things we had to look at in terms of is setting priorities. What do you want to do first? What do we want to improve first? But also, where do we get the money to do it, and how do you do resource allocation? So when I first started as with the sheriff, there was 5 support staff in our office. For the sheriff, myself, and my assistant superintendent, we now have 1 part-time person. Anne Marie works 8 to 4. She retired years ago, but we love her to death and don't want her to leave. So we have her come back 8 to 4. So we started looking at like, well, what can we do to move resources around and put more money into support staff also. So one of the things we worked on first was, how do we re-enter people into our community? So we now have 13 inmate support counselors that work inside the jail. And when you enter in here, you're assigned a support counselor. So Dave Tuttle comes in today. I have 1 counselor who's with me for my entire incarceration. And that person helps me with, any needs I have while I'm here, dealing with the courts, photocopies, visits, those type of things. But then they start coordinating my reentry services, my education, things like that. And then once we got that reorganized, we now have 5 people that work in the community. We have a reentry center or after incarceration center. So inmates now, we start meeting with them at 30, 60, 90 days out saying, okay, where are you going to go? Do you need any support? And then when they get out, we can actually keep working with them on the outside. We have a whole center, a drop-in center they can go into if they need help with an ID, a resume. If we've started their GED or their high set testing inside the jail and they haven't completed it before they leave, we will pay for it on the outside. Like, we will come into our center, we will help you complete your GED. We will provide you these services. So we kind of redid our reentry inmate support services. Believe it or not, this changing this whole entire process involved union negotiations, because we had it took us about a year just to we had all these different compartments that were silos and no one was working with each other. We wiped it all out, made one big department, but I actually had to renegotiate with a union on that and eliminate positions and do this. So that took us about a year. But this was probably one of the biggest things we did in terms of helping these men get ready to release from prison. So once we completed that part of our process, we started working internally on our programming that we do. And this is where it comes into, how does this affect the children, the families, the people that we're all concerned about too? One of the things we realized early on that I think a lot of us know is men that are incarcerated, they all come from different backgrounds. They have different issues in life and things that they're struggling with. One of the things we did next was we looked at everything we offered everybody here, from education to substance abuse, to reentry services. And we kind of revamped everything to say, let's maximize the time that we have the men here. Any class that we teach, anything that we do, we want to be able, it improves their chances on the outside. The program we have here, you see these pictures to the left. This is a new building we renovated during COVID. It's our new STOP program, which is our in-house substance abuse treatment opportunity program. And what we did was we took a building that housed 110 men, and we now made 24 pods in it. So you see the little pods here on the left. We bought them new furniture. We painted the place. We made a big investment into making this. When you go inside this facility, you feel like you're in a residential treatment center. It's a little bit removed from the rest of the jail population. The staff, the substance abuse staff, are inside the facility, and we have two different programs we run. They're both intensive. Their days are so busy. It's a 6-month program and a 3-month program, and we have two because we want to make sure that the guys that are getting out have a chance to, complete one of these two programs. This has been such a huge success. When I go up there to visit the guys, one of the things they come out and say is, removing us from the rest of the inmates and getting us into this environment, all 24 of us can focus on ourselves. Like, we can sit here as a group and focus on our substance abuse issues. This is the population that takes the parenting class. They get relapse prevention, domestic violence recovery. This has been such a great program, and a lot of this is focused on not just their substance abuse, but also their parenting, their life skills. This was a great program. This just opened back up a couple months ago. It took me about 2 years because of everything else. We started it mid-COVID. We ran into issues with building I fought with the building inspector. We had, things didn't come on time at that point, but we're very excited to open up this new facility so these guys can really focus on their life skills and substance abuse issues. This picture you see here, this is our parenting program. We subcontract out with a company, a local group here in Worcester called Parnay Family Services. And the men that are in our substance abuse program, they can take this 12-week class, and it really works on their parenting skills. It works on the relationship building with their families. And then on week 8, if they're participating in the program, if they're serious about it, they get to start having visits with their children. And the rest of the jail, we have no contact visits. It's all done behind glass and in a very sterile environment. This room you see to the left of the words, this was a new room we built and designed for the family visits. We painted it, we bought them new furniture. Everything in here is correctional grade too. The chairs weigh a ton. There's no sharp edges on things. You can't pick metal off of stuff. A lot of thought went into not just the paint and the pictures and all that, but the layout of the room. And this has been such a huge success to see these guys interacting with their children. We bought them books and games and stuff like that to do when they're in there. Has just been wonderful. And I think we all know that the children of incarcerated parents, this is worse than death and divorce sometimes for these children. I mean, just to have a family member incarcerated is really, I think they're kind of known as like the hidden victims of crime. It's really kind of sad. And I think they get forgotten about a lot. A lot of talk is into the criminal, a lot of talk goes into the victim. But again, all these hidden victims out there get forgotten about. I think more services, and that's why God bless you guys for what you're doing, because, we can't forget about these kids and the trauma that they go through, but also too, preparing for the mother or father to come back into their lives is really important. So this is a program that, again, just opened up. We've been doing it we started back as COVID was ending, and it's been awesome. This kind of gives you just a snapshot of who we deal with here. Almost half of the guys coming in here have no high school diploma. Very few have even just some college, and let alone a college degree. So a lot of our programming has gone into at least helping them get this high school degree, if anything. And then we do work we're very fortunate here in Massachusetts, particularly in Worcester County. If you're not familiar with us, Worcester County is one of the largest counties in Massachusetts. There's almost 800,000 people in this county. But we're also fortunate because right around the jail, we have 8 colleges and universities, and we do partner a lot with them. A lot of them come in here, which I'll show you in a second. So, there are a lot of resources for us to tap into, which I know aren't available in other parts of the country. So we do feel kind of blessed with that.
Hey, Dave, we had a question come into the chat that goes with the parenting classes. She said, is this parenting education program while they're incarcerated or a reentry program once they're released?
This is while they're incarcerated. So while they're here, they start taking the training, the program, and then they're able to start their visits while they're here. And we do try to time it so that it's getting close to their release, so they can start having the visits as they go. Some of the guys have had a lapse where they've had their visits and it's been a month or 2 before they get out. So we're trying to address that with them. Maybe we can give them a couple more visits and work with them. But it starts while they're behind the walls.
That's awesome. Thank you.
So our educational programming, again, like I was saying earlier, we really kind of blew this up years ago. And everything we do now, we wanted to have some sort of tie into the community. And more so than that, we wanted to do things to help build people's kind of their confidence. And I don't know how to say this. I think the best way to describe it was, I was so proud. I'm giving this tour of we built a restaurant inside the jail, and we started a culinary program working with our local college. Quinsigamond Community College comes in and their professor teaches the class. So when they graduate, they get a certificate from the local college. We worked with the Restaurant Association, designing the restaurant and kind of laying out the programming. And I made the comment once, I'm like, yeah, over the past couple of years, we've had almost 60 guys graduate from the culinary program. And someone's like, yeah, but only 5 of them working in the industry, so it's a waste of time. I'm like, absolutely not. These guys at the end of the day took a college class. They had a college professor come in and teach them, and they graduated from it. More so than that, this is the thing that, like, you try to subtly do things to teach people in life. These guys learned cooking skills. They learned nutrition skills. Hopefully they're going home to their families, and instead of shoving McDonald's or Chick-fil-A down their kids' throat every night, maybe they're making them a meal. Maybe they're cooking for them. So there's a lot more to this than just saying, well, you do a culinary program and only 5 of them are working in the industry, so it's a waste of time. No, it's all the other skills they're learning and the confidence they're getting too from these programs that kind of help them out. When we first did it, I did have a guy at his graduation was so proud. He's like, I didn't graduate. I've never received a diploma in my life. I've never graduated high school. He goes, I just completed a college course. We're hoping that gives him the confidence to be able to go back, when he leaves here to do other stuff. So if you look at the classes we're offering right now, from culinary, we have math, writing, which is anything where you see QCC, that's our local Quinsigamond Community College, which is right down the road from us. We partnered with Worcester State University, which is a local university here. Their students come in and teach a financial literacy class to our inmates, where they learn about the banking system, credit, how credit works, how to balance a checkbook. It's the basic financial skills. Clark University, which some of you may have heard of Clark, it's a very prestigious local private university. Their professors come in and teach an entrepreneurship program here. And what's kind of cool about that is if they complete their behind the walls classes, they can then go to Clark University for free and take the second half of the entrepreneurship program there and get up to 6 credits from Clark that they can use if they pursue a higher education from there. We work with like local workforce development, readiness trainings. If you see the picture in the background here, this was kind of cool. So when COVID hit, what was the first thing everybody did? Boats and RVs. So we worked with the national, that's Chris in the middle there, our instructor. We worked with the National RV Association because one of the things we were told was there were not enough technicians out there to service these RVs that are being produced at this great level. So Chris is a certified trainer from the National RV Association. The RV in the background, we got donated to us here at the jail. So we now do RV Technician 1 40-hour class here for free for the inmates. So they can take the 40-hour class. They can actually work on the RV we have here and get all their hands-on experience done. And they can take their test while they're here too. And we have a lot of RV companies around us that are offering jobs at like 20-something bucks an hour leaving, starting as a level 1 RV technician. We have had a couple, we've had a lot of guys go through the class and graduate. We have, I think, 2 now since we've started this that are working locally in the program. And again, a lot of it too isn't just about, 30 guys gone through it, 2 are working in it, it's a failure. No, it's not. They graduated and they got some training and confidence that they can use in something else in life. We do electrical wiring. We have a pneumatic hydraulics class here in digital literacy. And then one of the things we really focus on is Lisa Goby, my education director. We run it like semesters there. So we have our fall and spring. We do tweak the classes now and then. And these are our core classes, but we'll work in like creative writing, history class, just to kind of give the teacher something different to do and the inmates here something different to take. But I thought this was very important that we kind of retool everything we do here so that it's some sort of practical thing that they can use in life when they leave, as opposed to just wasting their time inside here. This is our financial literacy graduation. This was fun. On the right-hand side are the 4 students that taught it. And then on the left is myself, the professor, and the sheriff, Evangelitis, in the middle. And this was really kind of fun to do because I think the students that taught it may have gotten a little bit more out of it than the inmates that participated in it. They really enjoyed coming in here. The experience of coming into the facility, teaching and interacting with these guys was great. It was good to see. And, for a lot of them, they didn't even know how to balance a checkbook. They've learned about that. They learned how credit works, what to look for when you're establishing credit. So it was a really good class, and it's worked out so well with Worcester State. We're working with them right now to see if we can use their nursing students to develop some sort of health curriculum to come in and do the same thing, but nutritional, healthy eating, how to take care of yourself better, health, like a health type curriculum. So we're working on that right now. This is our picture of our restaurant that we built. What the quick story on this, up in Massachusetts, there were these private schools called Salter schools, and they were this for-profit. They did a lot of like medical records training, secretarial training. They were right down the road from us, and they did a culinary program. So I went and met with them. And I'm like, maybe you guys can help us out. We're looking to do some culinary training. And the professor called me and said, "Hey, Dave, we can't do this. They're shutting us down. We got in trouble. I think they did like these bad loans, or they got into some serious trouble." So when I went to pick up the curriculum she was putting together, I'm standing there and I'm like, hey, what are you doing with all this stuff? They had 2 full restaurants inside this building. And she was like, I don't know. We don't own the building. They're kicking us out. So I came back and my CFO and I sat down. I'm like, let's offer them $5,000. So we called them up. I'm like, I'll give you $5,000 for your 2 restaurants. And they called me back to like, come get it. She goes, you only have to take it out of here. So if you look in the background here, none of this was here 3 years ago. The pizza ovens, the friolators, the cooks. I sent a van full of inmates and my plumbers and electricians down, and we took everything out of this school and we brought it back to the jail and we sorted through it all. And we're like, we'll keep this friolator, we'll trade this one in, we'll keep this pizza oven, we'll do this. Literally, when I say, you know the movie How the Grinch Stole Christmas, he even took the last morsel. Like, we cut out the slop sinks, we took everything out of there. And we were able to build, and then we worked with Quinsigamond Community College, and the local restaurant association came in and said, okay, if you're really serious, if you're going to build a restaurant, it has to model the real world. They helped us do this, and this is phenomenal. And now we get a twofer out of it. The culinary program starts at 1 p.m. So from 10:30 to 12, our staff now come in for lunch. So the guys participating in the culinary program also work with our civilian staff, and they help prepare lunch. So we do staff lunches during the day, and then it turns over to the restaurant for the culinary classes in the afternoon. And this picture on the left here is their graduation. So one of the things we did for the guys that participate in the culinary program, on their graduation day, when they're getting their certificates from Quinsigamond Community College, their family members come in and have lunch with them. They get to serve and cook for their family. So their families come in, their kids come in. It's a really nice event. And it's one of the changes we made here. In addition to the parenting program, we now allow contact visits for the guys that are participating in the culinary program. So this was a huge success for us. And again, they're learning a lot more skills than just, going to work in a restaurant. They're getting a lot of confidence and a lot of skills. This is a program we started about 5 years ago. It's called Opportunity. It's a 13-week songwriting class that we started with Anna Maria College here in Worcester. And it has really exceeded our expectations. It was run like a college class at first. There's a college professors that teach it with interns, and every week they would come in and the inmates were given an assignment to, write. They learned about a different genre of music. They learned about music writing, but then every week they worked on a theme. Like one week it was about family. The next week it was about incarceration. Then it was about this. And over the 13 weeks, we bought them, you can see we bought them pianos and guitars and all sorts of other things, those cajones, the drumming things. At the end of the 13 weeks, they actually performed a concert with the songs they wrote. And throughout people are like, oh, great, it's a music program. No, it's not. A lot of it was thinking about their lives, writing skills. They learned to play instruments. It was taught by college professors. So they were given some confidence. But what was neat about it too was just watching the guys work with each other, like interact with each other, and start writing songs, and then to get up and to perform it was pretty cool. This is kind of a neat story. This gentleman here playing the violin is Vijay Gupta. So Vijay Gupta is a world-renowned violinist who heard about our program and what we're doing, and he is doing a residency in Worcester right now. And he came up and volunteered last semester and worked with our inmates. They actually got to perform via video at Mechanics Hall during his concert. As he was performing, he had our inmates perform there, and that was kind of really neat to see. But he is, and I'm not going to pretend that this is the world that I'm in. So this is what I know about. He's a rock star in the violin world. So, but it was kind of neat to have him here, and just to hear about his experiences. And he's really committed to working with folks that are incarcerated or people that are down on their luck in life, and he's made this part of his mission too, just through his life story. But he was incredible to have, just an amazing violinist and person. We enjoyed having him here, and he's coming back next year, or later this year, I should say, to keep working with us. Some of the other things we do here, we have a farm. We farm 14 acres of land, and we do have inmates that do work on it with our staff. We do use a portion of the produce that's grown in our culinary program. but a majority of it is given back to the community. It's given to food pantries, homeless shelters, veteran shelters. And one of the things that was kind of cool about it, an inmate a couple of years ago turned to us and he knew, what he was doing. He goes, "It's the first time I felt I've ever given back to the community I've taken from for so many years." He goes, "It made me feel good, like, growing these vegetables and knowing where they're going." And it's kind of fun. They get out, they get out of the facility, they get out, and it's all volunteer. They're not made to do to work there, but they do enjoy it. It's been a good sense of purpose for a lot of them. And, for some of them, just getting up and doing a job every day, it has kind of benefited them. This is another program we do here. This is this is fun. We work with a no-kill animal shelter, Second Chance. They are a dog, they do animal rescue. And what happens is a lot of the dogs that they rescue need socialization skills. So we have a housing unit that they'll come in, they'll live in, and Second Chance pays for all the food, they pay for all the supplies, their vet comes out and takes care of the animals. And the inmates that are living in this housing unit are trained on how to train the dogs that come in, and the dogs live with us for about 8 to 12 weeks, depending on what they need. And then they're able to go back out for adoption there. We've had everything from dogs rescued from meat plants in Korea to, storms come in and animals get lost and come through our doors. Almost like the Dr. Seuss book there, blue dogs, red dogs, big dogs, little dogs. We've seen them all come through. And it has been really neat. When we first started it, the housing unit that they're in, the whole stress level just kind of came down. It was kind of neat to go over there, and you go into the day room and the guys are watching TV and the dogs are laying with them, or you go into the rooms and the dogs are on the bed, and the neat thing about it is we've done a lot of dogs over the years. Almost half have been adopted by our staff. Because the housing that they're in, you park by and you walk by the yard, you see the dogs running around, and it's been a program that we've been doing since April of 2015, and we love it. It's such a nice thing to have here. It's benefited the inmates that work in the program and our staff and the animals that have come through it. So in addition to the jail and House of Corrections, we have 3 regional offices that we run where we do diversion programs with the courts. So there are guys that are sent, men and women are in all the centers, and they're spread out in the county, one in North County, one in Central, and one in South County. And they're drop-in centers too. So if anybody has ever been incarcerated in their lives, show up and say, "I need help," we will provide services to them. One of the things we've started changing with our reentry programs has been meeting some of the needs that we see. I'm not sure what's happening in other states. In Massachusetts, one of the issues we're having is, so when we are releasing guys, we're making sure they have 30 days of medication called in for them. So, we call into the local pharmacy. One of the things we're noticing, particularly when it comes to mental health, has been we call in a 30-day script, but they cannot get into a provider in time to get the script renewed. So we started seeing guys are having a hard time. So we hired another mental health clinician, and we're working with advocates to say, okay, can you guys have office hours in the community so that if anybody is having an issue getting into a provider, can we meet with them and maybe refill the script for another 30 days? We just need to see them before we do it. So we're starting to take a lot more of the services from the jail and moving some of them into the community to help guys bridge the gap from when they leave here until they can get into permanent services. So we're kind of increasing the reentry and after incarceration part of what we do. And again, we are fortunate here in Massachusetts and in Worcester. Worcester is a larger city. There are a little bit more communities partners that we can partner with. So we are fortunate in that regard. But so we are trying to figure out how do you support these guys as they're leaving better into the community. And then here are some of our reentry team out on the streets that we do. And again, some of the services we provide after they leave here, vocational training, IDs. We're paying for their IDs if they lose them or they need help getting them. We'll pay for it at the registry or as they go. And I think a lot of this is, how does this tie into their children and DEC and everything that you guys do. And I think the biggest part of it is we were talking about, in some of our previous conversations with you, has been, we have these men that are here, men and women. I say men because that's what we have here in Worcester, is we have them for a period of time. We know they need help. We know they need assistance. And I think maximizing their time that they're here is very important. But I also think too, is trying to give them the training they need while they're here to reintegrate with their children, give them some of the tools that they need to deal with their substance abuse, their mental health issues, I think does prepare them, for reentry back into their families. We are doing a lot of good things here. We're very proud of the changes we made over the years. We're always looking at what we can do. This is my soapbox moment here, and I don't think we're unique from the rest of the country. I think there's this stigma on corrections and incarceration that folks are like, oh, I don't want to support it. I don't think people should go to jail. I don't think people should do this. And one of the things that's starting to frustrate me more and more in life is I have 700 men sitting here right now. And whether or not you believe in incarceration, you cannot turn your back on them. They're here. They have issues. We need to help address them. Why waste this time? That we have their undivided attention. They're going nowhere today. So, and part of my frustration as a superintendent has been, I have a jail that opened in 1973. The housing unit is a housing unit. There's no real space down there that we can have clinicians meet with people. We don't have classroom space. We don't have a lot of the things we need to do this, for these guys. And as I look forward, and particularly when it comes to men with mental illness, men with substance abuse, but men that have children, there's so much more that we can be doing. There are guys that are very connected with their families and their children that are here. We should be figuring out how to have them participate in parent-teacher conferences. We should be figuring out ways that they can have a room where they can go and record, maybe reading a book to their child, so they can send it to their family and have them read it to them. There's so much more we could be doing to help build this connection between the men that are here and their families, to help kind of maybe heal, bridges and that they may have burnt over the years, and help them reconnect and help them have a different view of how they can interact with their kids. But we don't get a lot of support to do it. And it is frustrating because there is a lot more that we should be doing that we know we're not. So I think I was trying to figure out how to kind of condense this and not take up your whole hour here.
No.
Did I do you proud, Ellen? So Ellen got me involved. Ellen and I go back long before my time here at the sheriff's office. We have a long history of doing community things together. So I was excited when she asked me to get involved with the DEC program.
Yeah,
Mr.
and as
Tuttle.
long as I've worked with you, even, we were fortunate, we got to go on an in-person tour, and even I was kind of blown away by all the things that go on there and the great programs. And I think it was the last national, you said at the beginning, I didn't see how it necessarily is going to work together, but at that national DEC conference, the last one I went to, I had heard someone say, where are there more parents of drug endangered children than in jail and in house of corrections?
Yeah.
They kind of really like, oh, I'm like, and I know just the person to call. You did a great job today. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's kind of hard. I was trying to figure out how do I get this on a PowerPoint and do it on Zoom. As Ellen knows, I love bringing people through the place because I think you can kind of drive the point home when you're here and you're actually talking to the guys and you're seeing the facility, and and I think the biggest thing is just to see what we've been able to do with the absolute crap place we have. I mean, we've been able to really kind of improve a lot of it and make it a little bit better. And I've quoted in the newspaper, my boss says it's probably one of the weirdest quotes I've ever had. I'm like, how do you tell people we want to help you improve your lives? How do we tell you we're serious about this, but welcome to a shithole? I mean, that was my quote in the newspaper. I'm like, yeah, I mean, like it's bad. It's we really do need to invest into these facilities. We really need to do it and it's not because I just want to lock people up and throw it away. It's in order to help people, we need to have the right place to do it. We need the staff on board to do it. And I don't hide the fact that part of the reason I'm kind of passionate about this is my brother spent a year in prison. He's bipolar, schizophrenic, and set the house on fire. And like what we went through with him when he was incarcerated really kind of has helped me. And I was superintendent here at the time. He was on Bridgewater. What we went through as a family too, I kind of bring that to work with me and say, all right, well, how can we do this differently? Like how can we maximize the time that we have these guys here, and what can we do to support the families too?
Mr. Tuttle, I think the information you have provided is great, and I think it's interesting how Ellen made the connection. National DEC's working with Ellen Miller and Worcester County on a grant, and how she made that connection and reached out. But I had a few questions that might also benefit some of our attendees on this. Most of the attendees on here aren't coming from 800,000 population in their community, and most of us would dream for a budget that you kind of have. So I guess my question to you would be is, because you put a lot of thought into this and a lot of amazing work, is if you don't have that budget, if you don't have that population, all of this is still possible in segments, right? It's a slow step. You just got to figure out your priority. Can you maybe talk to the attendees on that portion of it, like biting off bite-sized pieces, and how to, am I making any sense there, Mr. Tuttle?
So it's perfect sense. So let me step back a little bit. So my boss got elected in November of 2010. And I knew I had been friends with him for years. I helped him on his campaign. I was actually working at a local college. That's how Ellen and I first got kind of involved before that, actually a little bit before then. And he got elected. I'm like, good luck. He called me one day. He's like, I need your help. He's like, there's so many changes we need to make here. Our budget's limited. I mean, it's big compared to other jails, but it is limited compared to what we have, for population and stuff here. I came in, I spent 3 years before I became superintendent. So the first 3 years of his administration were basically hell. Like, we fought with the unions. We had people that didn't want to do it differently. My first month here, I actually had to call one of our teachers who clocked in. I had to find him at his other job and say, hey, can you come back to work so I can fire you? Like, where are you? We had social workers who were supposed to work the afternoons, come in, clock in. We watched her on camera, read her newspaper in the car, and then went and hung out at the tattoo parlor with her friends. Like, this is what we walked into. And I'm only bringing this up because, this does not happen overnight. A lot of my first 3 years here was spent just quietly meeting people, like assessing the place, like, okay, and then coming back to the sheriff and saying, all right, well, I think here's what we should probably do first. Let's work on how we have the place organized. Like, can we look at just how we flow? Like, what do we do? Like, how do our staff work? Can we get people that believe in this here? Not people that are just here for the paycheck and then leaving at the end of the day. So I think you don't always need the more money. Are you doing? I don't know how to say this. I don't want to offend people either. I say it because, are we doing the right things with what we have right now? And what changes can you make? Can you reorganize the department so that it's better focused on providing services? And I think the biggest one, as I talked about, was I had reentry people, I had inmate service counselors, I had this pocket here, and we kind of said, no, we're having one department now that's going to do everything. And we're going to streamline the process. And that took a year alone. So I think the first steps is kind of look at everything you're doing. And even in our education department, we stopped doing almost 90% of what we were doing. We're like, okay, let's refocus our resources on providing different services and how can we streamline things. Resource allocation. As I told you, like, I have no support for, like, the presentation was kind of, put together by me and, one other person. We have no support staff in our office because, we don't really see the need for it. We can answer the phones and empty the trash if we have to. So I guess you kind of take a look at that's the first step to take. But a lot of this, I can sit here and give these presentations and I can say, we're doing this, like how great we are. I can't do anything without the people working the line the line staff, the correctional staff. I can't do this without good teachers, without good program directors. So a lot of it was cleaning out the folks that didn't have the same philosophy as us and work ethic as us, and kind of getting people in here that could do those jobs. So when I say
love-
resource allocation, it's not just, it's get rid of the folks that don't do it. Basically,
love that.
I don't know how else to say it, is you need people around you that believe what you believe in and want to do what you're doing. And that took us a long time. Even still, we're still working on it. But my life now is so much better than it was even 5 years ago, just because I have awesome program directors. Now my struggle isn't my awesome staff. Now my struggle is everyone. I'm just losing one to Middlesex County because she's so good. They outbid me on her. She's leaving me. I don't blame her, but I mean, she's awesome. Like, I have such a great staff now. Now I'm trying to keep them here.
I love that.
Yeah.
The other thing that I had that I think would be beneficial is maybe Carrie can throw the link in. I've had the opportunity to listen and watch your opportunity one where they do their music. It's on YouTube. It is phenomenal if you've never
Awesome.
seen it.
Yep.
So if we could share that link, that'd be awesome. But
that
I
program,
go ahead.
but I say that program, when you watch the video, or the videos, there's a few up now, that has far exceeded our expectation, like far exceeded it. It's that program is going so well now. They've left the college and created their own nonprofit, and they're now doing it in multiple facilities in Massachusetts. So that's now being replicated, I think, in 3 other facilities. So we're just so proud that it started. And believe it or not, that started over a drink with my daughter, who's a music teacher, years ago. And she's like, you need to be doing more for music. I said, you know what, you're absolutely right. And she kind of helped plant the seed in my head, and the program kind of evolved over years, to where it is now.
I think that's awesome. And then my last thing for you, sir, is I'm a man of opportunity and always try to make opportunities. A dear friend of ours at National DEC and me personally, Jerry Moe, is on here, who has worked with children all of his life at the Betty Ford Center. I hope you and him can make a connection, because I think the resources he could help provide and bring that focus to children would be phenomenal. So Jerry, not to call you out again, buddy, but I think this is a beautiful opportunity and something that DEC and the drug endangered children that are whatever, you could really bring a spin to that.
Now, yeah, thank you, Eric. David, just amazing. I mean, I leave energized and charged up, and it's your passion and the passion of those that work with you that truly makes a difference. First thing that comes to mind, and we'll take this offline, is that I do stuff with Sesame Street, but it's always been around parental addiction. Sesame Street has done a whole website based on having your mom or dad incarcerated.
Yeah,
and I can make sure that being able to utilize those materials, really, really wonderful stuff.
Yeah. I think that the biggest thing, and when folks ask, like, well, what can we do to help you? I'm like, I think we need to nationally, start supporting corrections and not just kind of pointing fingers at us. And, one of the frustrations I have is I go to community meetings and everyone's like, you're not doing this, you're not doing this, you're not doing this, you're not doing this. I'm like, yeah, I know we should be, like, help us. Like, we need the support, we need the facilities, we need the staff to do it. Yeah, I don't know when I said it, maybe it was before the meeting started with Eric and them, is, one of the issues we're having here in Worcester County is we're competing now against Chick-fil-A when it comes to hiring people. Like, when you look at the salaries that a lot of places are paying now, and to say, I want people who believe in what we believe in working here and helping me and doing this, like, we're having a hard, we're 30-something correctional officers short. We're having a hard time filling spots because no one wants to work in corrections or law enforcement, it seems like, anymore. And, I think we have a bad rap. And, I think a lot of it is we got to get out is we're correctional officers. We're not COs. I mean, we're not guards. We don't just guard people. We're looking for folks who can help us turn people's lives around. We're looking for people who care about what they do here. And for the longest time, we had the requirement that you had to have at least a 2-year degree or military service to work here. We're looking for those type of people. We've had to suspend that now because we're just having a hard time filling the roles here. It's really getting frustrating, and a lot of it is due to the lack of support from our legislators. That our funding comes from.
Dave, we are willing to help be a platform for you to spread this because you are making corrections looked at differently. And the great work that you have done, I don't know, for me, being in a sheriff's office and stuff like that for years, you at least offer an opportunity to look at these situations differently with the same mindset that we have, that we are helping the parents, but ultimately, really, we're making better parents for the children and we're looking out for those children. So I think what you're doing and what we are doing is a perfect mesh.
Oh, it is.
And Ellen Miller, I will thank you for the connection and you guys and the great work DA Early is doing and making that connection. So
My favorite partnership is with Ellen and the DA. So.
That's all I had, Carrie. I apologize for interrupting.
Oh, no, you're good. Are there any other questions for Dave? We just have 3 minutes left. I wanted to give you an opportunity to ask anything.
I did manage. I was looking at my timer, like, okay, I got to keep this under an hour. So
Oh, you did great. The first time we were able to meet with Dave, we were all so excited. And I think you guys can see now, he said, well, he was talking, he said he's looking to improve chances for the people on the outside. And I think that's really providing that help, hope, and support that we are focused on for the child, family, and the community as a whole. So definitely in line and a great partnership. And we are so glad to have you here today and to be able to have this message so others can learn from you. And so thank you so much for all that you're doing.
thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Just one, oh, Eric, did you have something?
No, I didn't know if Mr. Tuttle wanted to, and don't feel pressured if you'd like to drop your email address in there if people would like to go with you direct. But like I said, do not feel obligated.
Yeah, how do I? All right, this is very kind of embarrassing. I'm gonna type it into the chat here.
I can pop it in the chat. Do you want me to do that, Dave? Or
Hang on one second. You can save me if I screw this up.
okay.
This is when you need those high school interns in the office to sit here and help you die. Yeah, I think I did it.
Yep, there.
So, yeah, reach out to me. I'm willing to talk to anybody. If anybody's ever in Massachusetts and wants to swing by and see us, feel free. You know, we love to show off what we're doing here.
Absolutely. Thank you again, Dave, so much. Thanks, Ellen, for the connection. Yeah, I love the partnerships and things going on up there in Massachusetts. So a lot of great work. Just in our last minute that we have here, just wanted to do a quick reminder of our national conference that's coming up the end of August, August 29th, 30th, and 31st in Kansas City, Missouri. All the information's on our website. If you have any questions about that, late registration does start on Friday. So just be mindful of that. And anything else you want to share about the conference, Eric or Scott?
The only thing that I would add is if you come in early, we're going to try to do a networking event the day prior or the afternoon prior. Be looking on our website for that information. And Jerry, I'll call you out again. Jerry Moe is one of our keynote speakers and will be kicking off the conference for us in a fabulous way as he always does.
I'll just add, we're looking forward to seeing everybody. It's great to be able to see everybody in person. So many wonderful things happen when we're together, and working together with everybody just makes new ideas and new collaborations possible. So we're happy to see you there.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Thanks again, Dave. We appreciate it. Have a good afternoon, everyone.